Old Tom, to me, he is it. Go down the rabbit hole of Old Tom Morris and his impact on the game, and golf for all mentality, agronomy, equipment, golf course design, and sort of this championship sort of, creating, cultivating the Open Championship. That man was the man.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special episode. Jonathan, we are at Season 2, Episode 1 of the Whole Story Podcast. We appreciate everybody joining us, and we're starting the new season off kind of with an all-star of all-stars in the golf media. Let me introduce Matt Ginella, a legend in the golf media. He's been doing this for 25, 30 years. He shakes his head, but he knows it. He's done it with Sports Illustrated, Golf Digest, Golf World, the Golf Channel, and now he's the CEO of the Fire Pit Collective. He has a series called Journeys with Matt Ginella. That's maybe where a lot of people are familiar with his travels all over the place. He hosts the Fire Pit Podcast. So, Matt Ginella, welcome to the Whole Story Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Happy New Year to you and everybody listening. Obviously, excited for 2024, needless to say.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of pressure this puts on the rest of our guests for the rest of the year, but next week's for sure going to be like, you might be a downgrade. No offense to whoever's on next week, but Matt comes on.
All our guests are great. What are you talking about?
Well, Matt, again, we appreciate you coming on. Obviously you've been around the world of golf forever, and we like to find out, like, where and how did this love of golf start? Were you like 2 years old with your cut down clubs, or were you later in life finding the passion for this game?
It was, I grew up in Northern California. I've told this story many times, but like I was just a typical kid in my mind in Northern California, where we played baseball, basketball, soccer, football, and golf. And the only reason why I played golf is because I had one of my buddies in my neighborhood in Northern California in Santa Rosa who was way into golf, right? He was one of the kids in the, we as a group of kids, just like I'm seeing my kids, it was seasonal. We played everything. Golf wasn't even on my radar, really. I mean, my Uncle Tony, who now I have an Uncle Tony Invitational as a tribute to sort of him and all that he gave to me in my life, because he really taught me the game. It was Matt Cohen. Matt Cohen was a kid who wasn't playing, he played baseball, but he wasn't playing football and soccer, but he was playing golf. And his dad, Al Cohen, would take him and they'd go practice and play the way, the way you'd see kids nowadays committing to the game of golf at an early age and sort of getting hyper-focused on that one sport type mentality that we have now. That was Matt Cohen back in the early, mid to late 70s. He was going to the golf course. I happened to be at his house one day. They said, we're going to Sonoma County Fairgrounds. We're going to go play golf. And a little 9-hole, pitch and putt in the middle of a racetrack, of a horse race track at the Sonoma. It's still there to this day. And we went and I said, we're going, and do you want to come with me? And I said, called my mom. Yeah, you can go. And I went, and I remember that round of golf like it was yesterday. Al Cohen, took Matt Cohen and Matt Ginella out to play golf. And that was my introduction. And I was probably 8 or 9 years old. And I remember Al Cohen said, hey, don't worry about it. Just tee it up wherever you want. I remember thinking, oh, this is so cool. I'm putting the ball on a tee. I was hitting it airborne. He would stand behind the green and he would say, chip, pretend like you're chipping to me, when the pin was somewhere between me and him, right? And he was like, chip to me, get. And I remember these little lessons. And then that led to me getting a set of clubs. And that led to my Uncle Tony grabbing the club and saying, hey, man, if you want to do this, you got to start with the grip. And he put my hands on the club in the grip fashion. And these are these little checkpoints I have had in my life. From there, my dad played, but my dad worked his ass off. My dad was an civil engineer. He commuted. He left at 4:30 in the morning, got home at 8:30 at night. He would play maybe once a month. He was a lifetime 23 handicap. He played, but he wasn't, and he taught me that, like, if you're not having fun, then we're getting the hell out of here. He was that kind of guy. Like, and I'm not coming out here and watching you bitch and moan and act like, throw clubs and shit. Like, if that's happening, we're going home. So he was that kind of guide for me. Uncle Tony taught me the actual game. Al Cohen, Matt Cohen introduced me to the game. Then I started working in the game. So down the street at Oakmont Golf Course, that's where I started picking ranges, changing grips, parking carts, eventually ended up on the maintenance staff. So my bleed into the game just sort of kept happening. That led to all the way to senior year in high school, where I went out for the golf team, and then eventually actually played golf at St. Mary's College in Northern California, 1991 to 1995. Well, Tiger Woods doesn't turn pro to 1996, right? So to make a college golf team in the mid-90s before Tiger turns pro, like, they were grabbing bodies. It was like, if you knew what the game of golf was, like, hey, you want to play golf? I mean, we got a spot on the team. I think back to I was probably a 5 or 6 handicap, maybe, playing NCAA Division I college golf before Tiger Woods turned pro. There's not a college in the United States at a 6 handicap where you're sniffing an opportunity to play Division I golf now. Not even. They're gonna laugh like you're out. That's the Tiger effect in a nutshell.
Well, some people say that Tiger started playing because he saw how good you were and thought, if Matt can do it, maybe I have a shot at this thing.
It's funny, Robbie. That's come up a lot, and I'd like to think that's no. I remember
heard about this guy in Northern California and thought, well, I should pick up my game.
I would see. We would at St. Mary's. We would be going to like these different courses, and I forget the name of the course, Carlton Woods or some golf course in Northern California, where we rocked up, and there had been a tournament that ended the day before, and we looked up on the board, and the name circled, the score, the way they did it. Eldrick Woods had won the tournament. And we were like, oh, that's Tiger. That's, he was still being called Eldrick at the time, and he was already winning tournaments, and we were in college. So he, let's say that's 1993. So he was beating all of the people in that field back then. He was coming.
Yeah. You talk about the Tiger effect kind of on the playing of golf. I would say, and not to blow smoke here, but I would say there's a Matt Ginella effect in golf media. How people cover it, how storytelling of golf has evolved. Do you think maybe your experience from working at a course, playing junior golf, playing college golf, do you think all that has helped you, obviously journalism career and education and stuff, but has that helped you tell better golf stories?
Oh, without a doubt. I think everything, we are a product of our environment. Everything we see or do ends up impacting us in some way, shape, or form. I say it all the time. There is no better education than travel. Forget golf for a second. Let's just talk moving around the world we live in and seeing different things, meeting different people, having different experiences. All of that, that also goes to like sort of what's under your own roof, right? Oh, getting married, having kids, then watching those kids and how they're consuming the world. That bleeds into everything you do. When I was single and running around and had no cares in the world, and I was traveling 200 days a year for 15 years in a row, from Digest all the way to Golf Channel, course to course, resort to resort, country to country, state to state, all of that. I mean, before my son was 2, he had been to 33 states and 4 countries before he was 2. So I was traveling that hard even after I'd had my son. It starts getting harder after then you start having to pay for those flights. But to answer your question, everything I've done is impacting everything I do.
With you traveling obviously everywhere and being in all these golf courses, does it ever lose the magic? Like whenever you get to a new course, is it ever like, oh, just it's another course. I've just got to be here today for whatever I'm here for?
No, I say it all the time. The sense of discovery. I would imagine, Ponce de Leon or Christopher Columbus, when they got on those freaking boats and started like setting off for the great unknown. I don't know what that is. I don't know. That's either in you or it's not in. Some people are very comfortable in their hometown for life, and I get it. When I was born and raised in Santa Rosa, California, and I showed up in New York City, and I came up from the subway and in the middle of in Manhattan, and I had to walk from Penn Station to the Time Life building for my interview at Sports Illustrated to sort of be a non-paid intern. When I remember that day, like yesterday, when I got up from that subway stand and looked around, and it was like, I am home. That sense of discovery to me is the same thing. I had it this year when I went to Portumna, when I had been told, Portumna is 2 hours from Dublin and 3 hours from Waterville, right? It's a parkland golf course in Ireland that people have said, oh, you got to see Portumna. It's in the middle of like a natural forest, like there's no houses and shit. And it's not the place you'd go and seek out if you were from North America looking for a links land golf experience. But if you want a great golf course in which you're going to pay, locals are paying like some ridiculous, 35 euros or 50 euros or something. And if you're out of towners, they jacked up to 100 euros or, you're like, just because that's the way they protect their business model. If you guys showed up there today and you'd be like, holy shit. Like, this is like, Beth Page, Tori, like, this is high level golf that, and when I got done with it, it was like, I can't wait to share this story. Critch Island between Nairn and Portneuf and Rosapenna, St. Patrick's, that little 9-hole course we did a feature on, I don't know, two years ago. Crail, for that matter, when you find that old Tom Morris just down the street from St. Andrews. I found Forest Dunes several years ago. It's like you find, quite frankly, it's like you found Bandon Dunes in the early 2000s. I mean, everybody was discovering it at that shit never gets old. I can't wait to share it. And that will never go away.
Yeah, one thing I read in the Press Democrat article by Austin Murphy, he was talking, I guess, your time with the Golf Channel, and you referenced this before. You had little segments, right? Little 3-minute segments to tell a small story. And the Fire Pit Collective, you get to, I think you used the analogy, you get to use the whole cow. So tell us about telling a story using the whole cow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the base, that killing the cow and only eating the fillet, that inefficient model is what was eating at me for pretty much a massive portion of my time in legacy media. If you go back to Golf Digest, I'd leave and travel and fill notebooks and cameras, at that time digital cameras, with imagery and anecdotes and stories. To this day, like Alan Shipnuck, right? How long did he's written, incredible. Even if he had to write a 3,000-word story at Sports Illustrated, that's only 10% of his reporting. Maybe. That's on the high side. To go out for 5 days and shoot from sunrise to sunset, and pare that down into a 3.5 to a 5-minute feature or story. And only I know, myself and my crew know, what's left on the cutting room floor. So this to me is where we're at with media, right? So if you're not killing the cow and using all of its parts in an effective and efficient way, then you're out of business. That bothered me. It's like and the main example I use is we go to Maui. We're shooting a travel show in Maui, and Lucas Nelson the son of Willie Nelson, agrees to play golf with us at one of the resort courses in Maui. And during the day, we're playing golf and we're getting his love of the game and growing up in Maui and why that he's playing in bare feet, and he's just this really cool spiritual dude, and he's sharing all these. And he says, "Oh, by the way, I was a big part of this A Star Is Born movie. I was working with Bradley Cooper. Picked me out of the crowd. I helped train him up on being a musician." And I helped Lady Gaga write music, and it was like, holy shit! Star Is Born hadn't come out yet, and Lucas Nelson is regaling us with these stories of working with Cooper and Lady Gaga and music, I remember I was so excited. I was like, we got to cut this up. Let's make this a podcast. Let's make this its own separate. Lucas Nelson is his own separate feature. We could make that, just cut that out and make that crickets. No. It goes into the back room. Lucas Nelson is part of the show as a golfer. He makes a long putt on the last hole. All well and good. But now that was in November, December. Now the Oscars, the Grammys, the Oscars, he's winning Grammys. And I'm like, we were sitting on all that stories and all that information, and it just washed out. Like we were talking about water, it washed out. There's no collection. There's no collection of the good stuff and repurposing of those types of stories. I launched a production company in February of 2020 in which I thought I was going to go out and do travel and lifestyle and try to capitalize on a more effective and efficient model of storytelling. Obviously, March of 2020, COVID hits. That's horrible timing. So that's why I really had to, write travel lifestyle, February of 2020. Perfect. I had all the right ideas, that it was in my head, and I had seen that Barstool and things like No Laying Up had disrupted the distribution universe that we live in. And that was giving me anxiety too. It's like, I have all that. I want to give all that. I just wanted to flip it upside down. Instead of using 5 to 10%, I wanted to use 90 to 95% as audio podcasts, as social shorts, digital long form. Do whatever we felt we wanted to do, because in the end, the platforms are there to give it to people. If you like to read it, Robby, and if you like to watch it, Jonathan, and I like to listen to it, read, watch, listen, long, medium, short, kill the cow, use it all. That's the model.
Do you think golf, and I guess people that play golf, sort of lends itself to being willing to have the whole cow available? Because if you think about our attention spans, the society, I'm a huge baseball fan, and I'm already frustrated that they're going to take the pitch clock down so there's less time between pitches. And I like the 4 hours at a ballpark. I like the 3 or 4 hours plus the time after at a golf course. And so, but I'm sure there's got to be other sports or other mediums that just couldn't digest this the same way, right?
Yeah, and yes. I mean, look, I love baseball, but I love that I can go to a game with my 6-year-old son on an evening game that starts at 6:45 and know that he can be home, in theory by 9:00 at night, instead of having to leave in the 5th inning. You know what I mean? I noticed, oh, wow. Now, I'm with you. There have been games, in San Diego on a beautiful, Saturday afternoon day game in which let's play 3 games. I don't care if this goes 27 innings. I got nowhere to be. Let's get some more beers. Let's hunker down. But there's an evolution of our attention spans as adults, as kids, as adults who have kids. So, I say it all the time. I came around Pebble Beach is a 6-hour round. Where the do you have to rush off to? Why are you what is the problem? Yeah. I wish Pebble Beach was an 8-hour round. Let go. I don't give a shit how long it takes me to play Pebble Beach. Every time I've been there, if you want Pebble at 4 hours, Go play some other golf. You're at the wrong golf course. You need to cherish every step. Take as many photos. Some people are only playing it once in their life.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas Goat Hill Park on a Saturday morning, when I got to get home and I know I've like squirreled away, we do 7:30 shotguns. If it goes 5 hours, people are going to kill each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's time and place. That goes back to the baseball game. Like, if it's a Wednesday night and I'm bringing my little guy, I need it to be a 2-hour game. But if it's Saturday afternoon and you and I, we're all hanging out and having a, afternoon, I hope it's a 5-hour game. There's a time and place for everything, and it's not one set thing. You know what I mean? And if you want short and fast, the good news in the world of golf is we now have options.
Yeah.
We have Golden Gate Park 9-hole golf course. We have Goat Hill Park at 4,500 yards, par 65. And we have Torrey South if you want to go grind it out for 5.5 hours and get your nuts kicked in and feel bad about how much you paid compared to how much you're shooting. You know what I mean? Like you can run the gamut now. And thankfully, go to Top Golf and hit balls for half an hour and rent a stall and have fun and wear whatever the hell you want. Thankfully, the game has evolved, so we have options.
So you talk about Go Hill Park, and that's one of the courses that Jonathan and I have on our list that we want to come play. We always say it's not about what you shoot and how well you're playing, but about the experience, right? You're talking about a long round at Pebble. That'd be awesome. A hang at Go Hill Park. Just everything we see, read, hear about, it looks like it's an incredible place to hang out and play golf. So for Goat Hill Park itself, how would you describe that to those that don't know about it?
It's everything. It's everything you'd want it to be from the moment you drive into the parking lot to the time you leave. It's John Ashworth. 12 years ago, if you rocked up to this place, you couldn't leave fast enough. It would just be if they charged $35 back then, they were charging $30 too much. It was all dirt, bad green. I saw it 12 years ago. It really was. Goat Hill Park was a goat track. And what John did was he saved it, rallied the community. The city said, "You want it? Fine, take it. Here's a 50-year lease." He got reclaimed water for the fairways. He's still on potable water for the greens because reclaimed water doesn't mix well with the grasses. It's not good enough, to water the grass without getting a bunch of issues. So one step at a time, he has converted this place if you try to boil it all down to how and why it works, because he made it a park in which you happen to play golf. That park mentality, that green grass, that place where you can go as an individual or with friends or with family or with all of the above and feel like you're rocking up at a park which dogs are spilling out of the back of the trunks. They're on a leash or off a leash. Kids are rolling up with clubs, and people aren't looking at the kids like, "Ugh, kids." Women, girls are rocking up, and people aren't going, "Oh my God, I'm playing behind a group of girls." That kind of shit doesn't exist at Goat Hill Park. It's a welcome. It's a warmth. There's the fire pit. There's the driving range. There's the putting course. There's the 3-hole kids course. The clubhouse has got music going. People are lingering about. People aren't just. It's not about. You're wearing T-shirts. You're wearing, as John will preach. Who am I to tell you what to wear with your in and around your leisure time? It's just as long just wear a shirt. There's no shirtless, right? You can pretty much do anything you want. Just don't be an asshole. And that's the essence of Goat Hill Park. That's why I end up going there. Cheers, right? My wife and I we rewatch this show, and it comes down to sometimes you just want to go to a place where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, you mentioned the youth aspect because I actually just played just before the end of the year. I went out with a guy. I went out with my wife actually. She doesn't play. She was just walking with me, and the guy that we ended up catching up to, his son was there too, and he was almost apologetic along the way. Hey, I'm really sorry. I'm like, what are we sorry about? Like it's Thursday afternoon. We're out here, dude. You're here with your son. Like this is fantastic. Like how? Don't ever. I told him, I was like, don't ever apologize for being out here with your kid. Who cares if we've got to lose a couple balls or like hopefully he doesn't run into the woods trying to find his lost ball, stuff like that. But talk a little bit more because obviously you're on the board of Youth on the Course. Talk more about how you want to grow that game and make that a safe place. It sounds like Goat Park is already there, but how can we expand that into the rest of the country for those types of things?
I do think it's happening, right? It's happening, and it's brick by brick. I think, with the Golden Gate Parks and with the National Links Trust and with what's happening at Canal Shores in Chicago and Keeney Park and Winter Park 9 and what they're trying to do at Lions Me. I use all these. These are all the nationally recognized, got some ink kind of opportunities to use as blueprints as to what's possible. Youth on Course is a very simple model. Allow kids the access to golf at $5 or less. And Youth on Course then, subsidizes the difference between $5 and what a course would normally charge a junior to play golf. So the course is not out any money. Kids get that chance because, when we grew up, golf was super affordable. If that's the barrier, if cost is the barrier between a kid being able to play or not play, I'd like to think something like Youth on Course, bridges that gap between golf is too expensive. Okay, let's take that out of the equation. It's not too expensive if you're a member at Youth on Course, and that course honors that card and that membership, and kids can play for $5 or less. Great. That's now happening at a really incredible clip. 700,000 subsidized rounds in 22. That's making a difference, right? I think First Tee is great. I think they're helping. I think PGA Junior leagues are great, and I think they're helping. I think drive, chip, and putt, like to me, is that gives me I itch when I think about that because we see the kids who get that opportunity to go to Augusta every year, but what we don't see are these overzealous parents who are looking at their kids as the vehicle to get them a ticket to Augusta National that week of the Masters. And I've seen, because again, how does travel and being around the world affect me and my opinions of things? I've seen parents screaming at kids on driving ranges to hit it better, hit it farther, do this, don't do that. You're talking about a 16 handicap dad who's trying to tell his, kid, son or daughter, how to play the game better so that they can get that ticket to Augusta National. That's where, I get it. Drive, chip, and putt was a good idea, but it's not the idea. That's not growing the game. That's growing a bunch of overzealous parents yelling at kids. That, to me, is probably turning off more kids than it is getting kids in the game, in my opinion, if you were to really run the numbers. We're never going to be able to do it. I'm never going to have time to poll all the kids to say, does your dad or... by the way, I watched a mom FaceTime a dad watching a kid hitting balls at a driving range, the dad yelling through the FaceTime to the kid what to do and not to do. And the kid's sitting there going get me out of here. So there are really cool things that are happening to try to actually grow the game. I think Youth on Course is number one. I think First Tee and certain chapters are making more progress than other chapters, and that comes down to the leadership of those chapters. So, and I think the PGA Junior League is a cool concept, playing as a team with a jersey and, taking out this stroke play component of which, we used to post in this paper, I shot 52 in 9 holes. That's kind of embarrassing. You know what I mean? How about just did we win the match or not? You know what I mean? I got my team a point or not. That that was Mike Kaiser's idea that he had several years ago that he said, hey, take and run with this. High school golf should be match play, not stroke play. That seems to make sense to me. So there are plenty of things that are happening that, in addition to things like Top Golf and putting courses and these feeder systems like the playground at Goat Hill Park, where they're literally saying right now, adults can't play. Adults are beating up this golf course with using it as a practice facility, not repairing ball marks or divots. And the kids, like you can only play if you're a kid. And it's a 3-hole little 30, 40 yard, holes. It's like, I'm totally good with that. If you want to go play goat. But if you want a kid to have a cool experience, let him go play the playground. So I'm really encouraged by not just that we're up in numbers, but we're up in numbers in ways and for reasons that actually make sense because of things like Youth on Course and some of the other truly grow the game. I think Anwa was amazing, right? But did they go far enough? Why do they only get one round and the top 30? Like, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, I still think it's still like half-assing it. Like, let them play 3 rounds at Augusta National or 4 rounds for that matter. Like, what are we doing?
Well, if the rumors are true, they might end up building their own course across the street and have their own spot to play their own Masters.
I hope it comes true. I mean, all that stuff is cool. I love these mixed events. I hope there's more of them. I think, I've played with enough, and I'm sure you guys have been exposed to enough women's professional golfers where you're like, this is such an incredible component to the game and what they do and how they do it. It's different, but it's elite and it's exceptional. And Nelly Corda, I played with Nelly Corda. That's as good as it gets.
I wish my golf swing looked like Nelly Corda's golf swing, or any of them out there.
Every bit, like the rhythm and the tempo and the timing and the accuracy is so much more relatable, right? Which, don't get me started, the rollback and the bifurcation and all that shit. Like anyway.
Yeah. Well, you've got you were talking youth golf and junior golf. You've got a youth yourself, Bandon, named after a pretty special place. So what is it about Bandon Dunes and the Bandon area that led you to name your son Bandon?
Yeah, I mean, the Bandon, first of all, I just think it's a cool name, right?
It is a cool name.
My wife and I were kicking around names, and we went a lot of different directions. And I love Joe Montana, Tony Gwynn, Montana, band. This is what my contributions were. And she was like, yeah, no. But when I said Bandon, she used to babysit a kid named Landon, and she loved that name. Bandon was close to Landon. She's the one who actually did the deep dive into what does Bandon mean? What does the name actually mean? Forget that it's a town on the southwest coast of Oregon, and there's that it's, to me, one of the greatest golf destinations on planet Earth. It was for her, it was like what that name meant. And then she's like, you do know there's a town in Ireland, Bandon, and that Lord Bennett came from Bandon, Ireland. He gave himself the Declaration of Lord, by the way. There's this whole other story that I'm going to tell one day, whether it's podcast or video or both, about how Bandon, Ireland became Bandon, Oregon, which then became Bandon Dunes, right? And it involves a curse and fires and burning the town down and the gorse bush. And it's one of the best stories that I have yet to tell, but that someday I will. We went to the town of Bandon, Ireland, and got a tour of the golf course when little Bandon was like less than 2 years old. We got him out there putting at the Bandon Golf Club in the backdrop. Mike Kaiser, there's very famously kind of rolled through the town of Bandon, Ireland on one of his golf excursions. He eventually ended up at Bandon, Oregon, and eventually called it Bandon Dunes. So there's so much more than just like, oh, I've been covering Bandon Dunes since it's, the development, and I love the place and the vibe and the feel and the golf and the that, golf as it was meant to be kind of mentality and links golf in America. So there's more to it. I just think it's a cool name. It really means cool things. It's got deeper roots than just Bandon, Oregon, and it goes all the way back to Ireland. I'm a quarter Irish. I've found my family roots in Ireland. So there's all these layers to it. But that's in a nutshell that, some people are like, you named your son Bandon after golf. I'm like, amazing what people will say, but there's actually way more to it than just like, oh, I really like Bandon Dunes.
I just thought that was your first hole in one, and I thought, well, I mean, that makes sense. My youngest son, his name is Municipal, so no, I'm just joking. I don't have a hole in one or a kid named Municipal.
I've gotten a lot of people say, oh, Pioneer's number 2. Oh, your second son's number 2.
Well, we do always like to ask this question. Actually, Michael Verska said his hole in one was at Goat Hill Park. But what is your most memorable golf shot?
I have a hole in one on the 5th and the 9th hole at Goat Hill Park. Those are 2 of my 4.
Same round?
No, different rounds. And in fact, the one at the 9th hole came on January 6th. I was just going back through 2023, and on January 6th, 2023, playing with John Ashworth, I hooped it on the 4th hole for a 2. He hooped it on the 8th hole for a 2 eagle. So we have 2 eagles, and we're like, what the hell is going on? We have 2 eagles in 8 holes, and we get to the 9th tee, and I was like, everything's going in today. Why doesn't this go in too? And one hop and drops and ace the 9th. I win the skins that day. It's a $500 bonus pot. We took everybody out to dinner. It was like, I don't really have, a shot. I mean, I'm honestly, God, guys, like this game has given me so many memories, like, I can't imagine if I were, God forbid, to die tomorrow. You'd look back at my life, and I've lived 20 great golfing lives. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I have lived, and and someday I hope to put it in a book or some, in a way, I feel like I'm documented it all, via the platforms I've been, given access to. And there's just not a shot. It's just this whole collection of opportunities and moments and memories and relationships. And, I won the Uncle Tony Invitational with my roommate from college, my partner for life. I will remember sort of hitting that approach shot to the 18th green, surrounded by all of my best friends in life at Bandon Dunes as the sun is setting. That, we had a 10-shot lead. We were walking up. We were able to enjoy it. But, I hit the shot and, I missed the birdie, but I hit it to 8 feet. I missed the birdie, but made 5 for 4 there. We won by whatever. There are moments and things that will flash before my eyes someday when I'm drawing my last breath. And I'm just honored and grateful that I have so many, to flash before my eyes. It's a lot. It's a lot, and I'm really thankful for it.
Well, I think you said it right. Like it wasn't the hole in one. It wasn't probably even your best shot, but it doesn't change the fact that you remember who you're with, what happened that day, friends around. Especially, it works out well since most of us haven't had a hole in one. We still get to enjoy this game of golf and everything that surrounds it.
Yeah, it's a game, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. Why we are so passionate about it, why we all have these, I love fantasy football and I love the 49ers. I'm a big Padres fan. I go to games and support, but it's not like my life. Do you know what I'm saying? Like golf is my life. My life is golf. This game is so much more than a score. It was for a big chunk of my life. When early days, it was like, oh, a score that mattered. Oh, what'd you shoot? What'd you shoot? What'd you shoot? Like now, I'm rooting. If we were to go out and you guys had, I would be just as happy for you guys having your best score than I would be for myself, right? Like that. Going back to like people apologize. Oh, I'm sorry, my kids. I would be so happy that someone had their kid with that. And I get that all the time when I say sometimes, oh, hey guys, thanks for being so patient with Bandon today. Because you're always going, Bandon, come over here. Don't stand there. Don't wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. Be quick. So I'm internalizing all that, trying not to disrupt other people's. As I explain to Bandon all the time, I'm like, we're playing with people who have taken time out of their week. This is their day off. This is their leisure time. We get to have fun, but we have to have fun respecting the idea that other people are having fun too, right? Yeah. I make that point to him that it's not just about us. It's not just about you. This is about us as a group. And I say to them all the time, thanks for being patient with Bandon. And they come back just as you might have said, John, like don't ever apologize. Like, I love that he was here. They end up, getting involved in, and a lot of times they'll be like, Dad, can I ride with Wardy in his cart? Or can I run up and be if that? I'm like, yes, please go, spread, do, as long as they're good with it, I'm good. It's a fun thing. So it's just this game is, and John Ashworth is one of my guiding lights. I got Marty Carr. Tim Rosafort was a mentor and a guiding light for me about like professionally. I've got a lot of, people like Josh Lesnick, Tom Pashley, the president of Pinehurst. He's taught me a lot about like the business of golf. I've had, Bill Core and Ben Crenshaw, David Kidd, Jim Urbina, guys like Jay Blasey, we just did this work with at Golden Gate Park. Guys like Dan Burke or Will Smith at National Links Trust. Some of these people who are, Adam Hike, the CEO of Youth on Course, and his tireless effort to continue to sort of expand and grow. This, to me, are the true leaders of the game. They're the ones who are showing us by doing instead of like talking. They're actually doing things to impact this game so that not only we can continue to have these great experiences, it's that the Bandons and the Bandons, my son, meaning the generational impact that this game is having. Because at the end of the day, yeah, do we know assholes who play golf? Of course we do. But for the most part, they ultimately get weeded out. They end up being the ones who probably end up joining the private clubs filled with a bunch of other assholes, because that's the only friends they can get. You know what I'm saying? It's not to say that every member of a private club is an asshole. I'm just saying there are private clubs who are full of a bunch of assholes, and they can have each other.
Well, we appreciate your take on that, and it is all about who you're playing with. And we both have kids. My son's 18 now, and got to go out with him a few times over the Christmas break while he was home from college. And having grown up with him playing and having fun with it, that's what it's all about. And so it's something that Jonathan and I talked about our best moments from the year, and I did get to take him, and we got to go experience Pinehurst together this past summer. And that's what it's all about, just being out there, enjoying what this game will lend it to us.
There are a lot of special places in this country and in this world, Pinehurst and that history, and that is an entire community built around golf, right? Like that just golf. It's not about the first tee to the 18th green. It's about it's just everywhere. It's in every little shop you go into. It's a village, and what they're building at Sand Valley, Michael Kaiser and Chris Kaiser, I got more of an in-depth look behind the curtain of what's coming there, because they're not building abandoned dunes. They're building a Pinehurst. They're building a community that's going to be at its core revolve around golf. But there'll be other things that you can do. But they're building a they're building a village. You know what I mean? If Pinehurst is it doesn't really, it's town or city, like it's a village, right? Sand Valley is going to be a village, a golfing village. Goat Hill Park is a park where you play golf. So there's all these different little spring ups of what's happening. What would you call Top Golf, right? What would you call Top Golf is like this. It's like a nightclub. It's in the evening. It's a nightclub that's where you can play golf. By day, it's kind of like this family fun center where you can play golf.
It's a bowling alley for golf.
It's bowling alley, but like such a more enhanced experience. You know what I mean? It's much more of what's happening behind where you hit. As I said early on, if you go Chelsea Piers, right? Chelsea Piers, there's that line, and when you step into that slot, that's where you're hitting golf balls. And behind that line, there's nothing to it. There's no experience happening behind that line in which you either enter the stall you're hitting or you're out of the stall and you're not hitting. What Topgolf did is take that line from behind it and made it an experience of its own. Food, drinks, music, social activities happening. And that's what more of golf has become, right? Golf used to be just that place where you went into the stall and you hit your shot and it was about you. Golf now, 2023, and now moving on and beyond, is becoming so much more about what's happening behind that line. The people you're with, the experiences you're having, the music, the moments, the memories, the camaraderie. That's what's being cultivated, and that's why I feel so good about it, and why it's way more fun and relaxed and just more, just more healthy.
Does make it a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we always like to wrap up our podcast with what we call the quick 9. So we're going to go back and forth rapid fire. You can be as eloquent and loquacious as you prefer, or you can just say yes or no. First, starting off, what's the favorite course that you've played? And I don't know how you pick after you just listed all the ones you've already stated.
It always is the old course for me. It's the head and shoulders above the rest. And it, quite frankly, when I first played it, the first time I played it, I walked off going, I don't get it. It didn't, it was the age I was at. It was where I was at in my life. I just didn't, thank God. And I'm grateful again that I've had opportunities to go back and play it again. But as I've traveled around and the more experiences I've had and the different things I've been able to process in life and my, better understanding of the history, Old Tom to me, he is it. Go down the rabbit hole of Old Tom Morris and his impact on the game and golf for all mentality, agronomy, equipment, golf course design, and sort of this championship sort of, creating, cultivating the Open Championship. That man was the man. And I see what John Ashworth is doing at Goat Hill Park. That, we call him Old John Ashworth. It's like that old course is the Mecca. That's the top of the mountain. That's the top of Everest. Everything else is variations of checkpoints along the way and base camps and different little moments in which you got up there, but that's the top of the mountain, of every mountain.
Do you have a course that you haven't played that's kind of at the top of your bucket list?
I haven't played Sweetens Cove. I'd like to see it and feel it and get an opinion on it myself. Crystal Downs is one that I haven't played, that I've heard that that I really want to. Shinnecock I haven't played. I've been out there, I've walked it, I've covered opens there. I haven't ever played Shinnecock. That's on my list. Those would be 3 that are definitely on like my hit list at some point. I'd love to, but I'm not. I also, you have to know this about me too. Like I don't do that thing where I'm like, hey, Can I play? I don't. You know, I didn't play Augusta National until last year. There was a lot of reasons why I never got a chance to play it. I was in the media. I'd broken some rules trying to get photographers into places they shouldn't have been. Like I've done and I was sort of blacklisted on the media thing. I'd shared my credential with another coworker. I had broken all the rules. And I always said, hey, if it happens organically and authentically, I don't really want to play it with a bunch of media guys that I don't like anyway on a Monday after the Masters and all. Like, I'd rather play it with people who I want to play with. I get an invite, and I got that invite, and I was able to do it and did it right, and I checked that list. But I'm not one to be like, hey, I'm coming to town. Do anybody know a member who can get me on? Like, I'd rather have it happen authentically and organically with someone who invites me because they want to be with me and I want to be with them, kind of a thing. So, yeah, I feel like it'll happen. Shinnecock will happen one day, maybe. If not, I'm good. Like, I've gotten my fill times 1,000. So,
do you have a favorite location if you were going to take a group of friends for a golf trip?
Yeah, I mean it's Bandon Dunes. I just sent out the save the date to my group of 24 closest friends for what will be the 11th annual Uncle Tony Invitational. We went to Sand Valley last year. We went to Pinehurst on the 5th year, but it's mostly Bandon, and Bandon Dunes is it for me. It to me is the greatest true golfing hub in which you could park the car, not even have a car, and you can be there for 5 days, and the assortment of experiences and shot values, fire pits, camaraderie, food, vibe, energy, from Shu greeting you at the little, that little starter shed and saying, hey, welcome back. Great to have you. To the staff, I know probably 10 staff members by first name, on a first name basis. You know what I mean? Like, I've been covering it for so long, and that collection of golf courses, short and long, putting, is it's unparalleled. There is no other place in the world where you can get that kind of concentrated quality. Melbourne is an incredible golf mecca, but you're not hunkered down in one place. You know what I'm saying? You got to move around. Southwest of Ireland, north of there are great places that have a lot of great golf courses, but Bandon Dunes is the one place where you can go and park your car and stay as long as you want. And even when you're done, even if you've played them all and you played them all twice, the minute you're leaving, you can't wait to get back.
Okay. In your experience, is there a golf course that should host a major that's never done it before? And what major would it be? This could be off the wall.
Yeah, I like Port Marnock. I know Port Marnock now seems to be destined to hosting an Open. I love that, Port Rush got a chance to host an Open and will host another one. Port Marnock would be. I'm going to go with Port Marnock. In Dublin, and I think had the Walker Cup. I think that'll be a cool opportunity for that course and that club, and that country to Port Rush is Northern Ireland. So for Ireland to get Port Marnock to host an Open would be really cool.
My favorite question in the quick nine: what is your favorite on-course snack? Mine's tacos.
I mean, it's a burger dog.
Burger dog.
They have them at Silverado. They have them at Olympic Club. They're talking about trying to get them. The Parrish family, the famous story is old man Parrish was selling them out of a little cart outside of Olympic Club, and Olympic Club brought him in, and said, all right, whatever you do. They used to jump fences to go get burger dogs at Olympic Club, So that burger dog delivered that family recipe, and essentially a burger cut and grilled to fit a hot dog bun is, that's that's like the old course of St. Andrews. I'm not sure you're ever going to beat that. I mean, I love a good breakfast burrito. I love a good taco. There's a lot of things that do really cool shit, but the burger dog that's number one.
That is many of our guests' number one answer. So
really? Okay.
Patrick Koenig said that's the only answer. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, yeah, I would agree.
Yep. All right. Fire Pit Collective has an amazing logo. We're a big fan of golf logos. What is the best golf course logo or your favorite?
Man, there's a lot of good ones.
Goat Hill has a pretty cool logo.
What does?
Goat Hill has a pretty cool logo.
Goat Hill logo is amazing. The goat on top of the O of Oceanside is epic. Sleepy Hollow, obviously, the headless horseman. You know, that's that. I love Fisher's Island, like the little flag on that sort of unique piece of land that the golf course is on. Those come to mind. Yeah, Goat Hill Park, Sleepy Hollow, Fisher's Island, hard to beat.
This might be close to your heart here. What is your favorite part of the Fire Pit Collective?
I'll be honest, it has been. I had no idea what I was in for. I thought it was going to be so easy to start a media company, and I thought it was going to be easy to sell content. I thought it was going to be, looking back, this has been an exhausting journey. The freedom is really what keeps me going. The opportunity to feel like that's a cool story. I want to tell it. That in its essence, and that's boiling it down to sort of what I love about it. Doing it with the group of people that you want to do it with, or that because this is just like a player and a caddy. This is like, five guys on a basketball. This is like Princeton basketball, in which they work in you have to get a team, whether that's 2 or 20 or whatever the number is, that have bought into sort of one vision. And I thought that was going to be easy to do. That's hard to do. As I say in telling a story, you're only as good as your editor. I can try to suss out as many great stories, but I need help, right? You need someone to shoot it really well. Then you need someone to edit it really well, and we're all kind of part of that process in many ways, shapes, forms. So I think the freedom and the camaraderie is what I love about the idea of having, in theory, like, quote, your own company, right? Like, it's just being able to, I'm sure you guys love, as you said, you love doing it together, right? If I was always traveling by myself and only having these experiences as a single and not sharing those with friends or family or through social media or telling stories or putting it back out there, is it that much fun? Not really. It's about who you're, it still comes back down to who you're with and who you're doing with.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, describe your perfect day of golf.
It's morning time. I love sunrise, that dew sweep. And it's, I just sent out the itinerary for the 2024, Uncle Tony Invitational. And, in October, on a Wednesday, we're going to be teeing off at Bandon Trails. I already know the foursome I'll be with. It'll be my partner, my friend, my best friend from college, and the 2 defending champions from this year, Andrew Fleming and Ollie Dunn. And we'll be teeing off at Bandon Trails, at 8:30 in the morning. And we'll have had the opening ceremony where the uncles hit an honorary shot in honor of Uncle Tony. And everybody, and everybody's even par, and we're all tied for the lead, and and we're at Bandon, and it's Bandon Trails, and it's reflective and in honor of, and I'm looking around, and this is the group of people who, it's a collection of people that go back to high school all the way to current times of friends and so that's that. The opening round of Uncle Tony Invitational is in the mix. I just had a great day with my son. Like we whenever we get in the car, he says, "Is it big boy golf or little guy golf?" Little guy means it's all about him. We do whatever he wants to do. Big boy golf means, hey, we're going and we're playing with a bunch of guys, and this is a tournament, and you got to hang with me, and you'll hit shots, but it's when it's appropriate. And so there's that when it's about him, and then it's when it's about me, right? There's two different experiences. Both are amazing. So Ty goes to the little guy, but I mean those are the things I'm looking forward to in 2024.
So what is going to be next for the Fire Pit Collective?
We just had a big meeting right now. We are pivoting. We are pivoting from a forward-facing news organization, chasing impressions and likes and trying to cover the absolute dumpster fire that is professional golf. I really have no interest in it anymore, honestly. I could care. I hope they work it out. I hope golf is in a better place a year from now or 2 years from now or 5 years from now. I hope it gets resolved. I really do. I'm rooting for it. I get that professional component of the game is an aspect of golf, but thank God it's not golf. Thank God golf is so much more than whatever it is that's happening at the highest level. For men's golf, by the way, this is such a small segment of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we can't monetize it. It's very hard to monetize Michael Bamberger writing an 1,800-word story for FirePitCollective.com. It just doesn't pencil. Alan has been able to make money by writing books about it. But what more do you write about this situation? And by the way, even when he writes it, people don't like it, they ignore it, they think it's fake. The energy around it is so. People don't really give a shit about the truth anymore. Honestly, I mean that's relating to a lot of aspects of life. So we're pivoting. We're much more of a production, what would be deemed a production company than a media company now. We are going to find brands that want to invest in us, and quite frankly, we want to invest in them. So the Golden Gate Parks and the Gamble Sands and the Paso Tiempo's redoing all 18 greens, and Canal Shores and Western Golf Association and Youth on Course and things like Goat Hill Park and Wishbone Brawl, and we have a couple big ideas that if we can, if we are here this time next year, because there's no guarantees. I mean, you got to make it a business, right? We're 2.5 years into this. We have to still try to figure out how to have it pencil out. And we're working really, we're listening and we're learning. I mean, I've learned a lot in 2.5 years. I feel like I've got probably, 2 business degrees, if not 3, trying to understand the actual business of making this work. And I've learned a lot of hard lessons. I've lost relationships that I cared a lot about by virtue of, by being in the position I'm in. It's not all perfect. I'm not perfect. But I do believe in the core, mission statement, which is continuing to tell stories that have a good impact on the greater good of, not only just the game of golf, but the world we live in. And there are a lot out there. It's endless in the game of golf. And I hope I get to keep getting that opportunity to do it.
Well, like you, we love golf stories. That's why we're doing what we're doing here at the Whole Story Podcast. Jonathan, I feel like today we played some big boy golf. But we really appreciate, Matt, you joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. Like I said, I'm not sure I've ever said no to anybody ever asking me to jump on a podcast and talk golf. And, I've had, it's an opportunity to reflect and look back and tell stories or share share experiences, and it you know, there's never been a podcast that I've done that at the end it sort of impacts, you know, it impacts my future by being able to have these conversations and think about, you know, answers to specific questions. And I appreciate you guys taking the time and doing what you're doing, and good luck with what you guys have got going. And you're going into year 2, you said. This is
That's right.
No,
so I'm sure you guys have learned a lot and will continue to learn a lot and do things, you know. We're all having those questions and conversations, you know, internally and externally. And if there's anything I can ever do to help you, or if you're ever in San Diego, and if you come to Goat Hill Park and you don't look me up, I'll be totally bummed. A round of golf on me. We'll sit around the fire pit. We'll have some fire pit pilsners by Dogleg Brewery, which is another great partner and friend of the fire pit, and all of it on me.
Well, that's on our list. Like we said, we talked to Michael Verska. He's a big fan of Goat Hill Park, but and we got to interview Alan back in the fall around the time his book came out. So it's been a crazy first year doing the podcast, and we've got some exciting things on the horizon. But everybody out there, y'all need to check out firepitcollective.com. All the cool things Matt and the team are doing. They tell incredible golf stories in the different media, like we talked about: video, audio, written word. So highly encourage you guys to check them out. But for Matt, for Jonathan, for Robby, we appreciate you guys joining us for season 2 of the Whole Story Podcast.